growing and changing needs. Late last year, I requested a report on the status of the state's security against cyber attacks in our food, agriculture, and water sectors. The results showed there were gaps in our systems to ensure that agriculture and the water sector are secure against cyber attacks. And for this reason, this year I introduced SB 892, the Cybersecurity Preparedness Act that will take action to combat the growing issue of cyber threats and cyber attacks. I'm expecting it to be a very busy year in the legislature, and I look forward to hearing from you all on many of the bills that we will be hearing and voting on. I always appreciate everyone who takes the time to reach out to my office and provide their feedback regarding legislation. So please continue to do so. Now, I'd like to introduce Chairman of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors, Eddie Valero. Chairman, thank you for being here, and we are ready to hear from you and your update.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Senator Hurtado, for giving me the opportunity and the space in which to share what is going on in Tulare County. We have a lot of exciting things that are in the works, but we also have some challenging things that we're going through, and I'd like to share with you now. The first is our broadband infrastructure. So rural communities are actively suffering from lack of affordable and available broadband. From infrastructure provision, affordability standpoints, all communities receiving broadband support should have access to internet services that are current broadband speeds. And I know that the governor has appropriated that funding. However, Tulare County was not chosen for that project in the first round of the 18 statewide projects, though Tulare County is in dire need. And so we believe that that those funds will come, and hopefully they will come to the community of, like example, where he had shared in terms of being in Traver and other locations, other small rural communities that do need that infrastructure. As RCRC, which is the rural caucus of rural California counties, has said, the 2021-2022 state budget provided a total of $2 billion of federal funding for last mile broadband infrastructure over the next 3 years, split evenly to projects in urban counties and rural counties. And so again, we're hoping that we will see some of those funds in the county of Tulare. Two, what we've been kind of advocating for here in the county as well is to fully fund and finalize the widening of the 99 project, the need for congestion mitigation, allowing for the expeditious movement of goods and supplies through the 99 corridor is integral to our economy, because that is where the food happens, and that is where we take food from many, many places throughout the state of California. So additionally, inhibiting the proliferation of greenhouse gases engendered by idling traffic on our highways is in line with the state's priorities. So I hope that in identifying the need for reduced greenhouse emissions, that we also see the expansion of the 99 so that way we can get things to and from in greater ease. Also advocating for continued funding for community water and wastewater solutions, and advocate for mandatory wastewater consolidations and funding for infrastructure, so related to our legislative platform for the county. Disadvantaged communities face challenging, threatening wastewaters, and so which degrades the health and safety of residents. And I know that to be true in all of the various communities, the unincorporated communities that I represent in the northern valley of the county. Wastewater projects are expensive and time consuming, as we all know, and it's very hard to implement. But SB 1215 tasked the State Water Resource Board to develop a voluntary sewer consolidation program and provide funding for such projects. Failing septic and wastewater collection infrastructure plagues many communities while the SWRCB develops its programs. So we hope that in the county, support legislation for emergency funding for sewer emergencies and support adequate funding for disadvantaged communities to consolidate wastewater infrastructure as well. And we've been advocating for funding for entities to take on administrative roles for at-risk water systems. And I've been heavily involved in the future consolidation of the East Orosi into Orosi's water system. And I know that that has been somewhat of a struggle. However, we are excited that we're moving to the next phase soon in terms of becoming the administrator for that process. So that way we can see now that there's light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully, knowing that students and youth only know that water comes from their bottle and not from their tap. It still tends to be an issue, but my hope is that as the county serves as its administrative role, that it will work in partnership with the OPUD, Orosi Public Utilities District, and East Orosi CSD, Community Service District, to make this a realization for the many families that live in East Orosi. We're also advocating for funding for implementation of AB 38, fire safe regulations and forest management. As we know, we've seen this even in our backyard when it comes to the Sequoias. So AB 38, the fire safe home hardening retrofits in wildland and urban interface, affecting hundreds of jurisdictions in California. So Tulare County also supports greater forest management policies that would reduce the risk of high severity forest fires. And the county currently is actually working on a master stewardship agreement with the U.S. Forest Service. And this master stewardship agreement will allow the county to cooperate and partner with the USFS on the national forest. So the master stewardship agreement is the first step in working with the U.S. Forest Service future projects identified and will include in separate special project agreements. So to date, no specific projects have been identified, but however, it is imagined that the county could partner with U.S. Forest Service on fuels reduction work, hazard tree removal, recreational area improvements for families that go up, and planning activities. So the master stewardship agreement and subsequent special projects agreements will allow the county to leverage grant funding to accomplish work on the forest. I know I have half of the forest, Sequoia National Forest, and my partner, my colleague, Vice Chair Dennis Townsend, also takes up a portion of that as well. And so we anticipate the master stewardship agreement to be executed prior to June 30th of 2022. Homelessness, as we all know, has been an issue all across the state. Communities in Tulare County and throughout California have experienced increases in the number of homelessness and homeless persons in recent years. As of January 2020, the point in time survey, Tulare County is estimated to have about 992 homeless persons, a 22% increase in homelessness in Tulare County, with over 70% unsheltered and 40% self-reporting a behavioral health condition. While nearly every jurisdiction in California has ongoing efforts to address homelessness, jurisdictions vary in their systems capacity and readiness to implement flexibility in eligible activities for any new homeless programs would help jurisdictions implement activities that fit the local context. So that's kind of the things that we've been kind of struggling with recently is how do we fit the funds that are coming from the state to fit a local context and not necessarily blanket umbrella in terms of the funding that is distributed. In the area of homelessness, it would be beneficial for state departments to coordinate, collaborate, and create mutual agreements to streamline the administrative burden on counties that frequently have complementary programs that report to separate departments within the state's bureaucracy. But it would be ideal to streamline so that counties could have a single agreement by aligning current funding systems. Additionally, it would be helpful to have long-term funding rather than repeated short-term grants or one-term funding opportunities from the state. So again, not talking about yours here, but more specific to the state in general, as these do not create sufficient support to make headway against the long-term and structural conditions which are serving to keep homeless rates high still. And in 2022, the Tulare County Homeless Task Force conducted numerous presentations and outreach efforts such as COVID-19 vaccination efforts and our quarantine program, Project Room Key and Project Home Key, which again, we're still very appreciative of this and the funding that we've received. We have a warming center. We also an alcohol and other drugs program. We're working on a neighborhood village program in the community of Goshen, a community that I represent. Aging services for the homeless and the housing authority. I know that I also serve on the KT AAA, which is the Tulare Kings Agency on Aging. And I know we were able to distribute echoes as well as other needed technological devices to help support our seniors, especially the more those that have a difficulty reaching kind of the technology or the phones. They can actually just voice, and the echoes were provided to help support that. We also have the Lighthouse Rescue Missions Pocket Courtyard Housing Project, the 100-Day Challenge to End Homelessness, and then the Front Door Project, mobile outreach. And so I just wanted to also share just briefly in terms of what we've been doing with our ARPA funding. So the ARPA funding that we have received, 59.4%, or at least I will just share that we roughly got about 92 million in ARPA funding. 59.4 million is going to public health. 4.4 million is going to negative economic impacts, such as providing grants and small business opportunities for our retail, as well as rental assistance, utility assistance, all of that. Services to impacted communities is 5.6 million. Premium pay for our employees who have had to work over the course of the pandemic, we've provided 5.8 million. Infrastructure projects that we still need to tackle, and that is kind of going back to the Teviston situation that we recently had with the lack of water, as well as other projects like Early Mart, as well as Pixley and some other projects up north and east. We have invested 14.5 million from our ARPA funding for that as well. Revenue replacement, we have chosen not to go back in terms of replacing any lost revenue, and that is at zero. So that is something that the county has decided, look, we are going to focus on on the projects that impact and are very important for our community. So I want to applaud our county for not going back in terms of revenue replacement. And then lastly, plan administration to make sure that all that we have said that we're going to do, we have staff in order to do that as well. And that is 674,000 to accomplish that. Lastly, I just want to go over some successes that we've had. And I just want to share one in particular before I move on to others, and then I will conclude. Just last 2 weeks ago, we amended one of our projects that we're working on out at Caldwell and 99. And that project will include a Valley Children's Specialty Center. It will also include retail as well as other types of amenities like restaurants. It's called the Sequoia Gateway Project. And then just recently, the reason why we brought it back to the Board of Supervisors on the dais is because we amended it to also include, and we're hoping that it will come through, is the Great Wolf Lodge. And that is an indoor water park, a large, huge indoor water park, in addition to 700 hotel rooms and about, I would say 10 to 15 different type of restaurants and activity centers within the space as well. And it will also include a convention room. So if there are large gatherings for events, that space will be available as well. And so it's great. We're excited about that. And I know that that will not only generate revenue for our local hotels in Visalia, but it has been estimated and the research has been done to share and show that economic impact will be throughout the region. And so we're excited about that. Just a few things to note. Valley Fuel Travel Plaza in Goshen. We also want to make that a first stop when you get into Tulare County to make sure that you can go and have great opportunities, such as the first Starbucks in an unincorporated rural community of Goshen, as well as potential talks about a hotel in Goshen, as well as other like restaurants and gas stations that have been placed there. Also, we have our new Cutler Rossi community plan has been a success. We just adopted that. And kudos to the Clean California initiative that just went through. Cutler Rossi will be receiving $3 million to invest and redo the 63 for safety measures, for beautification, and for other opportunities. And so we're excited about that. I know I have a lot more that I could share, but I will just keep it short for now. And thank you for the opportunity to share.
Oh, thank you so much, Supervisor Valero. I'm really excited to hear about all the positive things. And of course, we're here to work together on all the things that Tulare County needs. And I'm particularly really excited to hear about the healthcare infrastructure that you're focused on, particularly around our children. So that's huge. Very excited about that.
Yeah, and if I can just share briefly too, with regards to our health initiatives, I know that we were one of the few counties that had our lab when the pandemic first started. And I also appreciate the state for providing additional funding to actually build and expand on our lab abilities. And so we just have a new lab going in, actually in District 3, which is my colleagues, but we're building a new lab that will be a state-of-the-art. So that way, whenever we do have any other future health challenges, Tulare County will be on the map for having one of the high-tech labs in the state of California.
That's exciting as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for being here today as well. And up next, we have Ed Hill, who is joining us today. He is the Kings County Administrative Officer. Ed, please feel free to begin whenever you are ready.
Hey, thank you, Senator Hurtado. Thank you for having me today. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Much like my counterparts in Tulare County, one of our big priorities is water this year. It's going to be all about the water. Without water, there's no development. This affects our housing, commercial, retail developments, which are all sources of better health outcomes and social determinants of health for our constituents. With more than 90% of our land dedicated to agriculture and agribusiness, water is our lifeblood. And as we lose water and we start seeing many of our farmlands go fallow and shift to other sources, that will also affect our tax income, which again is how we provide our services to our constituents. In addition to that, we'll see increases in rates of asthma and valley fever, along with other health associated issues. And I struggle, as you do as well, as you mentioned earlier, how the states and feds have kind of fallen short on this idea and how they fail to connect the health outcomes with the economic stability of the community, which is clearly documented in the social determinants of health as one of the key contributors to better health outcomes. Another thing that we're focusing on is continued COVID-19 response and any emerging pandemic or any public health emergencies. No matter your beliefs on the matter, the economic, human capital, resource-intense demands on the local jurisdictions and the public was real, and it's time-consuming, and it's expensive, and it's continuing. Unfortunately, the feds in the state have used the public health and prevention funds as their favorite piggy bank since 2010, which kind of set us up for this process. In doing so, they depleted public health's ability to respond and be ready for these emerging communicable diseases. We're also looking to enhance our board and care rates to prevent the loss of critical housing for clients with serious mental illnesses and build out our housing options. This is needed to support the rapidly growing aging population of low-income adults who are at most risk of homelessness, including persons with serious mental illnesses. We're going to continue to oppose any unfunded mandates or cost shifts from the federal and state government on locals. For example, SD1483, the organics regulations, a huge shift in waste collections, and those costs are likely going to be shifted to the citizens of our county and not be borne by the state that's implementing those mandates. We're also going to advocate for better processes and accesses of federal and state funding. Many of the emerging funding sources, such as the Federal Infrastructure Bill, are framed in competitive grants or loans, putting small counties and communities at disadvantages. As smaller counties such as ours, we struggle to get the staffing and the levels we need, especially in the areas of competitive grant writing, and larger jurisdictions have advantages that we don't have. So we're also trying to find a way to leverage that process as well as increase our support and advocacy in those areas. We're also going to advocate for federal and state updates for existing funding sources. For example, Title IV funding for foster care, as you mentioned earlier, Senator Hurtado. The federal formula is based and has not been updated since 1996. And as such, it hasn't been able to keep up with minimum wage increases, which is what determines eligibility for these individuals, essentially turning eligible individuals into ineligible individuals. In addition to that, the limited funding that we do get on these processes now, due to the hyperinflation, has rendered the funds essentially useless, right? There's not enough funds to contribute or spread them to the foster kids that we need. We also need to find a way to recruit more healthcare workers in the Central Valley. Too often, our constituents need to travel great distances to get the specialized care that they need. We're also going to support legislation and funding programs that would increase and expand job training opportunities within the county, including funding at local community colleges to train and educate residents, especially those in the tech industry. We're looking to explore options for an eventual replacement for the gasoline excise tax, because as improvement in fuel efficiency of the vehicles reduces this tax, as well as we switch to the greener electric vehicles, the alternatives for those will seriously erode all transportation tax revenue, and we've got to figure out a way to maintain our roads and services after that. We're also looking to find a way to expand State Route 198, which is the connecting highway from the Central Coast to the San Joaquin Valley. And as such, improvements of this corridor from the Naval Air Station in Lemoore to Interstate 5 is a priority for us to increase our auto and traffic safety. We're also looking to support legislation that focuses on our veterans and any services that they need, especially in the homelessness area and the treatment of the PSTD. As far as the Arpa funds go, like my counterpart in Tulare, although I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him the counterpart, he's the chairman, I'm the CAO, I apologize. We've dedicated $500,000 to businesses, 8.1 to emergency response, and 810,000 to premium pay. A lot of the focuses went to public health. Some of the funds went to pay delinquent utilities to our community service districts, and we're also expanding that to further community outreach as we move forward. We've only spent we spent less than half of our ARPA funds. We will be reconvening and restructuring that ARPA committee and looking at a wider approach to ARPA funds moving forward. So that's it in a nutshell, our main priorities in the county. Again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share our concerns and our issues with you. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you want to share with us anything exciting, or any big projects that were successful in the past year?
So yeah, I've been the county administrative officer for only 5 months, so I can't make this. And I came here from public health, as you know, and I'd really like to bolster the work that public health and that staff did, and that they continue to do during this pandemic. They, as mentioned before, they were strapped with no resources, so they've had to really adjust, pick up the slack, and they've really carried the water for the county, especially in the migratory farm worker areas. That staff was able to do the impossible with no staff, expand clinic hours, expand testing hours to weekends and nights so that the services were available for that community. And they continue to fight for the constituents of our county. So that's really exciting.
Well, thank you. And congratulations once again, 5 months. And I'm sure you've been active this entire time. I know I've known you beyond your CAO role and as a public health director, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing for Kings County. Thank you for joining us today, providing us with an update. And thank you as well, Supervisor Valero, for joining us today. And if you don't have any questions or anything else that you want to add, I just want to once again thank you all for joining us for this update. And I want to also say, please stay in touch. And there's a lot of different legislation and budget priorities that will continue to move forward, and we'll need your help and your support moving those forward. So thank you everyone for joining us today.